Thank you. When he counts me, he starts counting me in from 10. Janet, I'll Good morning, everybody. You're very welcome to this webinar from the Equality Commission for Northern Ireland and our colleagues in NIUSE. The title of the event is Making It Work, which is an initiative we developed with NIUSE. The aim of the initiative is to promote employment opportunities for people with disabilities. That's both accessing work and, very importantly, remaining in work. Today's event is very much about providing information, but building links and building partnerships. It talks about how employers can engage and take positive initiatives to promote employment opportunities for disabled people. It explains the support that's available and how you can access that support and use that support to develop your own initiatives. We also have excellent case studies today, which will show you what can be achieved by employers like Primark, who take a positive initiative to promote employment for disabled people. It will show also the benefits to disabled people of accessing employment. And finally, to enable you to do this, we will give you an action plan. And this will give you very practical steps that you can take with the support of the Equality Commission and NIUSE and the Department for Communities to promote your own initiatives. So we're going to begin with an opening video from the Chief Commissioner from the Equality Commission, Geraldine McGahey. And Geraldine is going to look at the importance of work in our lives for all of us. As we know, having a job is important personally, and it's important in terms of our ability to integrate and engage ourselves within society, politics, and within the economy. And she's also going to talk about the chains and the links and the partnerships that need to be developed to do this work successfully. So we hope you enjoy this very short video. We'll then move on to our speakers, and I'll give you an introduction to each of them in turn, but we'll begin with the video first. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Geraldine McGahey, and I'm the Chief Commissioner of the Equality Commission for Northern Ireland. I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar as part of our Making It Work initiative. I have been lucky to have been in employment all my adult life. I've never known a time when I didn't have the security of a job or the knowledge that I could find another job. For example, when I wanted to change careers. I actually started out my career as a civil engineer. I've been the Chief Executive of a council, and now I'm Chief Commissioner. Throughout my life, through my different careers, my work has always been important to me. It's part of my sense of identity, and it offers me, like most employees, many benefits, including financial independence and a sense of achievement. But not everyone finds securing and retaining employment a positive experience. 1 in 5 people in Northern Ireland live with a disability. They are a very diverse group with a wide range of skills, aptitudes, abilities, and ambitions. For many, they have one thing in common. They are eager to secure and retain paid employment and further their careers, just like everyone else. However, they often face barriers to employment that many of us without a disability will simply never experience. The most recent figures released by the Northern Ireland Statistics and Research Agency show that the employment rate for disabled people in Northern Ireland is just over 38%, and that is the lowest figure across all of the UK regions. We also know from Scope Research that disabled people make 60% more applications than those without a disability before finding a job. That must be hugely challenging for applicants who know they have the skills needed to do the job, and they can do it well. The Commission is working with the Northern Ireland Union of Supported Employment to create more and better jobs for disabled people. And this webinar is part of this work. It is designed for businesses across the private, public and third sectors to assist you to find the right employees, to help you deliver your business needs and to help more disabled people to find and secure paid employment. I will also highlight our publication in the chat today, which is a series of case studies of real people from Northern Ireland to highlight the positive experience of disabled people finding and securing paid employment in a range of roles. This publication also signposts organisations that can help you if you are considering initiatives to help more people with disabilities into your workplace. Indeed, if this change is to happen, we need you, the employers, managers and HR professionals, to help achieve it. The law actually enables you to provide opportunities for work for people with disabilities by using the provisions within the Disability Discrimination Act. You can use positive action measures to help disabled job seekers obtain work, for example, by using initiatives such as vocational training, or indeed reserving a number of jobs only for disabled people. However, I must also remind you that under the law, you also have a legal duty to consider the reasonable adjustment duty. In today's webinar, we will be focusing on how employers are making reasonable adjustments in recruitment and in the workplace. Afterwards, if you have any queries or need advice, my colleagues in the Equality Commission can assist you on how to lawfully apply these measures to your business or your organisation. However, before we move on to a video of Conor McGinnity talking about his job as a retail assistant in Primark, I want to thank all our speakers and contributors in advance for their dedication, their input and partnership to this Making It Work webinar, and indeed to you, our attendees. If we continue on this path together, we will help more disabled people across Northern Ireland find and secure paid employment, and we will help you succeed in your business by creating a more diverse, dedicated, skilled and indeed ambitious workforce. Thank you.
Okay, and moving on from that theme that Geraldine mentioned, employers actually taking the initiative and deciding to develop employability programs or initiatives for disabled people. How do you begin doing that? So we're delighted at this point to welcome our colleagues from Primark, and their contribution will begin with a video, as Geraldine mentioned, with Conor McGinnity. And secondly, then we'll have an input from Lorna, HR manager in Primark, to talk about the policies that they have developed to support their work. So we'll begin with the video from Conor and his personal experience of employment.
Hello, my name is Conor McGinnity and I've been working in Primark for 2 years. My job in Primark is a sales assistant. I also do maintenance, I stock rotate, I help customers if they need things brought down.
So Conor, firstly, he is such a positive person and he brings that to work every day. He takes time to chat to colleagues, to supervisors, to managers.
So how's things going here then? What did you get up to during the weekend?
And that promotes a really positive environment in the department that he's working on. We can see that his confidence has grown as well. So he talks to a lot more people. He's so much more knowledgeable now than when he initially began, because he has taken on board everything that he has been taught, everything that he's been mentored and coached, both by colleagues within Primark and by his tutors who support him from Mencap.
I got support by Mencap by helping me get in here, by showing me what's ropes, by telling me what is required from me. They support me as much as they possibly can. They tell me what I need to do. and if I don't do it, they tell me how to correct it. So next time, I'll do it from the moment I walked in to the moment I leave.
So the support we had from Mencap was very practical support. So in the beginning, Amanda and Liz would have been coming into store, finding out from the managers and the supervisors what the role involved so that they could get a good understanding, which they could then pass on to the likes of Conor and the people that they're trying to support in placements. We were lucky. He enjoyed the job, he understood the job, and he progressed, and we were able to support him to achieve that with Mencap working alongside him. And I would just say to any employer, you have absolutely nothing to lose trying this, and you have so much to gain, because we have gained an employee who has such an excellent idea of customer service, and he makes both the employee and the customer's day and experience really enjoyable in Primark.
When a customer leaves the store with a smile on their face, or goes to the supervisor or a manager or a colleague and says, that boy has helped me out from the moment I walked in, now I can leave with a bag and a smile on my face knowing that I got the best service from that individual.
In terms of having any concerns, I don't think we had any. The process and the support that Mencap provides was very clearly explained to us, and we worked closely with the employment officers, both Amanda and Liz, when they came into store.
Being a part of the Primark team gives you satisfaction on the job. It allows you to earn your own freedom, it allows you to make your own choices, it allows you to do the best job that you can do instead of what people can tell you to do. And if you do things wrong, they're hands-on when and if it is required.
Conor's just such a happy person. I don't know what more to say. I'd love more employees like him.
Well, we're delighted to have Lorna with us today to talk about the policies and procedures that Primark have developed. It was also interesting, though, Lorna, to see in the video that there are economic benefits, or there are business benefits to an employer in terms of taking employability initiatives. It's not just about doing the right thing, but can you tell us something about the work that Primark have done to support their initiative?
Everybody, my name is Lorna Lawlor, and I'm a store manager here in Primark in the Newmarket Street branch. Thank you for inviting me along to speak about our experiences today. So as you saw from the video clips, we have had a long-standing relationship and partnership with Mencap across a number of years, where young people have been able to take part in short work placements to allow them to trial a career in retail and lets them see if retail is the right career for them. In Primark, we have a reasonable adjustments process in place to support anyone who then wants to apply for a job with Primark. This has been in place since November 2018. And in Primark, we wanted to make sure that our application process was accessible to everyone. And this means much more than just providing access via a website so that someone can apply. We would consider ourselves to be leaders in our sector as we've introduced this process. I don't think it's something that's widely done within retail. So our reasonable adjustments process covers all aspects of recruitment. So beginning even before they've made the application, the applicant is able to go online and see contact information when they're viewing the job description. They can also see additional support information at the beginning of their application. If I might talk a little bit about the different stages and where a reasonable adjustments team can help. So if applicants can contact our reasonable adjustments team before applying, if they require a reasonable adjustment to facilitate the online application. So perhaps they might need telephone support. We then go through the normal application process, but we can provide support at interview stage. And if the applicant is successful, we support them in employment. Talk a little bit about some of the adjustments that we in Primark that we are able to make. There's obviously different types of adjustments that we can look at depending on the needs of the applicant, and indeed they may request one or more types of support to help them through the recruitment stages. And our reasonable adjustment team will be able to assist and guide applicants and the store management team. For example, if an assessment is asked for in the recruitment stage, we can offer telephone support. This can range from rephrasing questions over the phone to offering support for the candidate. They may just need company in completing the process. Each candidate is obviously different and the support can be tailored to their preferences. Our assessment test in Primark has been designed with autism in mind, and there may be cases where we may need to remove the test entirely, and this is where we will work with our reasonable adjustments team. We also can make adjustments for candidates who might not be able to use a computer or who have difficulty understanding technology. They may not have a support in their home to complete the applications, so we can certainly help with that as well. If a candidate gets to interview stage, there are quite a number of reasonable adjustments that we can look at putting in place. For example, we can look at the informal interview setting. We can assist with a store walk, which can help candidates to understand the tasks that they might be asked to do. We can rephrase questions, we can simplify questions, we can simply just help candidates understand what's being asked of them. We do understand that competency style questions can be difficult and that we can help to simplify this process. We can also look at additional time for interviews. We can look at adjustments to situational things such as the simple things like seating, the location of where the interview is held. We can look at, we can offer help with the questions ahead of the interview so that the candidate can be supported through the process. We can meet with the candidate before the interview if that would be something that would be beneficial. We can look at accessibility in different areas of the store. We can look at the lighting in the interview situation. We would also consider, do we need to look at a quiet space for candidates? And we can provide the facility to have a support officer in attendance at the interview as well. There's lots of things as an employer that we can do. Conor, as you saw from the video, came through this process, and Mencap continued to support Conor even past the recruitment stage and throughout his employment with us to date. They were there when he was carrying out his induction. They were there when he was carrying out his training, and they continue to check in on him. In Primark, we used a buddy up system for Conor, as we would do with new colleagues, where we would assign them to a partner who is able to show them the role and mentor them in the job. And we were also able to put Conor in direct contact with the supervisor if he had any questions or issues and was there to support him. If I can just say, Conor is a great asset to the store. He has such a great personality and he really is a brilliant colleague to have in store. Conor would tell us as well that he has really benefited from his employment. It has made him so much more confident and given him independence that he has wished for. We know here in Primark that through Mencap, his parents have been given feedback and they are delighted with his progress. One thing that they did raise, which I think it's important to share on this seminar, Conor initially started working on a weekend contract where he was working a Saturday and Sunday. And whilst he very much enjoyed working these hours, it meant that the family and social side of his life was starting to suffer slightly, where he wouldn't have been able to go to family visits, which he normally would have done on a Sunday. So Conor's parents contacted Mencap and explained this. We were able to then look at a flexible working application process for Conor, which meant that he was able to commit to an alternative work pattern. He still was doing the same hours. We were still getting the same great results from Conor, but it meant that his work-life balance was greatly improved. by saying, as an employer, we're delighted to have Conor on board. He has benefited from working in Primark, and Primark has very much benefited from having him on board.
Lorna, thank you very much for your input. Extremely interesting. And Lorna will be joining us for the questions and answer session later on. And before we go to our next speaker, I would like to maybe mention some interesting points that Lorna referred to there. It's really important that disabled people, people with disabilities, are offered these paid employment opportunities. And with the same rights, the same contracts as other employees, that's essential. But some of the issues that Lorna mentioned, particularly, for example, online testing, is very, very relevant to people with disabilities and indeed to other people, but talking specifically about disabilities. And we find often in the Commission there can be a rigidity from employers not to change existing online testing to make a reasonable adjustment in relation to those tests. And that can be a problem for disabled people on the one hand, but it's a problem for employers because it could be a failure to make reasonable adjustment. But it also takes many disabled people out of the recruitment process by having that rigidity. And when we talk to employers, often we find that there's not a specific criteria for using online testing, often it's simply a sifting mechanism. So it doesn't have an objective role as such other than sifting. So that's important to look at. Again, Lorna talked about the rephrasing of competency-based questions. That's another barrier to disabled people where they have, some disabled people, where they're having competency-based interviews. And the questions are fairly complex because they're based around competencies. So that willingness to rephrase questions, very simple, but there can be a rigidity there from some employers about doing that. So that's something one can do fairly easily. It doesn't cost anything and it makes a big difference to many people with disabilities and indeed to other people. Let's remember that. And I think finally the need to have the support role there and the role that Mencap plays is really important. And I hope we can come back to one of the points that Lorna mentioned, which was that this is not just about benefits to the individual, this is about benefits to the business. There are business benefits and we know we have a very tight labour market. So there are business benefits for you employers in actually providing employment opportunities. So we're now going to move on. And thank you again, Lorna, and we'll enjoy your company at the questions and answers session. We're now going to move on to our next speaker, who is going to build on the theme of reasonable adjustments that Lorna touched on. And this is Michelle Tennyson, who is the Deputy Director for Nursing at the Public Health Agency. And Michelle's contribution is actually part of the Making It Work booklet. And it featured in that booklet. And Michelle will refer to her PA, Hazel, in the presentation. And again, we hope you enjoy this input.
I'm Michelle Tennyson, and I want to tell you about my journey of meeting and working with Hazel Cregan, my dear colleague. Hazel's my personal assistant, and Hazel is deaf. But Hazel is much more than her deafness. I'm the lead allied health professional in the Public Health Agency, and I have responsibility for leadership, commissioning and the quality and safety of services for the allied health professions. That's 13 professions such as physio, occupational therapy and radiography. I have responsibility for patient experience and public involvement, ensuring the experiences and views of our public are taken into account when we plan and deliver health and social care services. My responsibility extends across Northern Ireland, and the role of a personal assistant working with me is no doubt pressurised, fast-paced, engages with many different people and organisations and oversees risks. My first meeting with Hazel was when she came to the top of our waiting list for a PA post. She came into my office and we had a chat about the role. I can honestly say that I found this quite a moving experience for me. I had someone in front of me who spent most of their time telling me about her limitations, describing for me in the greatest of detail what she couldn't do, and in effect asking me, would I accept her? The upset for me was that Hazel had come to the top of a PA waiting list, legitimately got a post in our organisation, but yet seemed to be asking me to accept her lack of ability and to permit her to work with me. No one should ever have to feel this way. It's fair to say that setting out on our journey, I faced a bit of a personal dilemma. On the one hand, personally, I've spent much of my career with people telling me that I couldn't do something. But I wanted to work with Hazel to prove that someone who is deaf can and is as effective as a PA as anyone else. Yet on the other hand, I wasn't really sure what to do and how to do it. And so Hazel and I embarked on our journey together. I'm happy to say help just seemed to arrive out of nowhere. And my first experience was with access to work. The support is financial with the budget available, as well as guidance on how to make adjustments to enable that person with a disability to work safely and effectively in their workplace. The approach we had was very person-centred, helping us to meet Hazel's needs and indeed my own. This was as much about my adjustments as an employer as it was about Hazel's as an employee. We both acted as a true partnership in our openness and our honesty about our hopes, our fears, our feelings and our needs. That honesty and indeed vulnerability has been the cornerstone of the relationship that we have built together. Some of the adjustments that we made along our way was, firstly, Hazel was provided with a mobile phone, and it was really important to her and to my team that she would be as accessible as possible. Now we no longer rely on email so heavily, and we use texting and WhatsApp. As someone who receives about 150 emails a day, I can tell you that this new form of communication was actually a godsend to all of us in the team. Hazel was also provided with a budget to use on services of an interpreter. Not just using the interpreter to carry out the formal business of our organisation, but equally as importantly to help Hazel become an integral and valued member of our team. For example, we organise to have a cup of coffee when someone new comes into our organisation. Hazel is as part of that process and that welcome as anyone else. Feeling safe and maintaining independence was really important to Hazel, and we provided with her pager system with flashing lights that alerted Hazel in the event of a fire alarm. This provided her with a feeling of reassurance and safety. And I do want to stress that we as employers also have a responsibility to adapt as well. We have to find ways of showing our disabled employees that they are valued within the workplace. And these don't have to be huge gestures. And in my case, it was as simple as learning to sign the alphabet and to sign some words, albeit quite badly, I would suggest. The second source of invaluable support to us was the Workable programme. And again, as Shauna described, a programme run by RNID for the deaf community, which helps complement the Access to Work programme, providing additional one-to-one support for the employee and advice to the employer to help with the adjustments for both parties and to finally provide training. In our case, Workable provided training for all of my staff on communication tactics and provided Hazel with one-to-one support to help her enter this vast and complex world as a deaf person. I can honestly say it has been an absolute privilege and honour working beside Hazel, particularly as we went head first into a pandemic that would change our lives forever. When I describe Hazel, the words that come to mind are committed, flexible, passionate, loyal, competent, resilient and determined. Hazel is an asset to my team. This descriptor of Hazel sits in direct conflict with her own presentation of herself on the very first day we met, when she presented herself as someone with many deficits. Yet, as her employer, as her colleague and as her friend, all I can see are her assets. Hazel is more than her deafness. My message is we have an untapped workforce of really talented people with disabilities in Northern Ireland. Please don't be afraid to use them. My message is it's okay to be apprehensive. You are not alone, and there are support organisations who are ready and willing to help. You just have to ask. My message is that workplace adjustments are almost always modest, particularly if you're going to work in close partnership with a person with a disability to define accurately what is required for both of you. My final message is don't think deficit, think asset. And I'm going to close with a quote, and it's a quote from Robert Hansel. There is no greater disability in society than the inability to see a person as more. Hazel is more than her deafness.
And there you have it, two examples of an excellent private sector employer, equally excellent public sector employer, taking initiatives to improve and increase the level of employability of people with disabilities. And the central theme that keeps coming through here is this is partly about helping the individual, but there are business benefits here of employing people with disability. And that's a recurring theme that we think is very important that employers, resonates with employers. So we're going to move on to our next speaker because employers don't have to take disability employability initiatives on their own. There are some superb organisations out there, and NIUSE is one of them, who can work with employers. They've built up years of expertise, and they are willing to work with employers directly to support employers to develop their own initiatives. So I'm delighted to introduce our colleague Edyth Dunlop from the Northern Ireland Union of Supported Employment, and Edyth will talk to you about the work that NIUSE does with employers. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. First of all, I'd just like to start off by thanking the Equality Commission. We have continued to work in partnership with the Equality Commission, and it has proved very, very, very beneficial. I think it brings together all the key sort of components and the support that's there for people with disabilities. The Northern Ireland Union of Supported Employment, we're a membership-based organisation, so we represent many of the disability employment organisations right across Northern Ireland. And to give you some examples of some of the organisations that are involved, that are regional organisations, local organisations and organisations that represent pan-disability as well. And we've heard a few of those already mentioned today, such as Mencap and RNID, who support people with disabilities into employment. And I suppose that's really where NIUSE sort of are working with our members, are there to help employers as well. NIUSE, we can work with employers, but also very much we promote the work of our members as well, who work directly with employers. And we see that really an approach, two main approaches that with working with employers. Working with them directly as individual organisations, but also from a strategic and a partnership approach as well. And we just really want to highlight as well that we engage with employers right across all industries, through retail, health and social care, hospitality, ICT, finance, manufacturing, right across all areas. All sectors as well, from the private, public and community and voluntary sector as well. And all sizes of employers, small, medium, large and multinational companies. We know in Northern Ireland that we are a small business sector, but we're there to help those small employers, small to medium-sized employers, to help them with their recruitment as well. And also all levels of jobs as well. Sometimes I know that employers will ask, well, what type of jobs should we be advertising for people with disabilities? Really, every opportunity should be open to people with disabilities. Whether it's somebody who's a chief executive of an organisation, to somebody who's admin or a range of catering, any other type of job. So it's really highlighting that all areas or all opportunities should be open as well. And that these services are provided right across Northern Ireland, no matter what part of the country that you're living in, there are organisations there that can help and support you to employ people with disabilities. So the approaches that I mentioned there, and that is really where the individual organisations are working directly with employers and what support can they provide to employers. And I suppose one of the key ones is sort of matching the job requirements as you as an employer are looking for and the skills and the experiences of the candidates. And that was one of the things we'd heard when we, with Conor's interview video at the beginning, working along with Mencap. They understood Conor's what interests that Conor had and the areas of work that he was interested in customer services and in retail. So they're aware of his skills, his experience, his capabilities, and then matching those then to those of the employer as well. It's very much about providing candidates to the employment opportunities, as we've heard. At the moment now we have the sort of lowest rate of unemployment, which is good to see. But we're also hearing from employers that they're having difficulties in recruiting people with disabilities, and we're really there to say it's looking at that untapped labour force that is there of people with disabilities and to help to support those employers. We have that opportunity that employers are looking for people, and we really, really want to work along with employers to help ensure that they get the best person for the job and widen sort of their recruitment pool as well. And that is about sort of contacting either through the Northern Ireland Union of Supported Employment or through individual organisations as well. Is it by going directly to those organisations, they can circulate the job opportunities widely as well. We sometimes hear from employers that people with disabilities don't apply for our vacancies, and sometimes it's about where people advertise their job. But if you come directly, as I said, to like organisations like ourselves, we will circulate those as widely as possible and circulate them as directly as well in certain areas of Northern Ireland as well, if that's specifically where the job opportunities are available. So what support do we provide, or the support for the organisations provide to employers as well? They'll help, as you've heard through both videos and from both employers as well, as helping with that recruitment and selection, providing information and advice and supporting the individual to make that application as well, and making sure that they have the skills or the areas of work that they're interested in as well. Very much looking at helping in reasonable adjustments, requirements for the individual, talking to the employer as well, and supporting them to put those reasonable adjustments in place. And also very much too about taking that positive action recruitment, which is key to making that difference in people with disabilities into employment as well. The organisations can help, as well, along with ourselves as well, to look at sort of different types of positive action, whether it be through guaranteed interview or whether it be also looking at ring fencing at posts, but other sort of pre-employment opportunities as well. They'll also provide very practical support, and that's supporting the individual as well as supporting the employer. It's about providing that one-to-one support to the individual and the employer, as well as providing that ongoing support. And that is a key element of the supported employment model. In a sense, it's not just about getting the person the job, but it's continuing to provide that support as long as the individual requires the support. And that support can continue through the induction, through training, and ongoing as well. And it's there to reassure the individual there's support there, but also there very much for the employer. If any issues arise, they can talk to the support organisation, and then they can work through with the employer and with the individual to sort of address any difficulties. As we'd heard, sort of Conor had mentioned earlier on that if he was having a difficulty with something, that the support workers would be there to help to make sure that he gets it right the next time, and ensures that he continues to get that as right as well. So that support is really critical, ensuring the support for the individual, but also for the employer as well. They can also advise on sort of financial support, and I know you'll hear more from Shauna next about access to work and about the Workable programme as well. So that's there to help to alleviate any issues that may arise in relation to sort of the support that people or individuals require. And also that really the organisations are all very, very professional organisations that are delivering to a very high standard as well. They're very, very aware of their individuals. They know that the skills that they have and are matching those to the employer. And that's really, I think, what employers are looking for, is they need somebody who, you know, they need that support in getting the right person going forward for the vacancies, and then hopefully supporting them throughout that as well. So the next approach that we also, which is very, very similar, but it's an approach that the Northern Ireland Union of Support Employment, we've worked a lot with many sort of larger employers if they're doing a large recruitment exercise to help to support those employers to take positive action measures. Very much believe that by moving forward with positive action measures, that you're really making that difference and levelling that playing field as well for many people with disabilities in going forward for employment. Positive action measures include guaranteed interview schemes. We talked about ring fencing opportunities. We also looking at pre-employment opportunities, and we'll be that link between the employer and the range of disability organisations as well, and circulating the information, inviting employers to come along and speak to the supported employment organisations to get a better understanding of what the job involves, what is expected, as well as what is the environment like as well for individuals to work in, so they can gather that understanding of what types of jobs or what types of opportunities are there as well. We also work very much as well in sort of providing that information and advice, as we talked about earlier, the practical and also the financial support. Very much about sharing the vacancies across the sector as well. And I think that is key to know that if employers are working through ourselves or working through the disability organisations, that you're going to get directly to individuals who are providing that support. Also, and then also sort of other opportunities that we have participated in as well as the work experience programmes that we've done along with Queen's University Belfast. We've done some pre-employment training as well through the Belfast Trust and the Northern Trust, which had ring-fenced opportunities for people with disabilities as well. Meet the Employers event, which we use for support organisations, but also for people with disabilities themselves to meet and find out what employers are interested in and come along to job fairs. We also have our own initiative called that's International Job Shadow Day that we know that a number of employers that are attending here today have participated in, but it's really that first sort of starting point for an individual to come along and see what is expected in the day in a life of somebody working as a retailer or somebody working in finance. So it really has, it's a European-wide and international-wide programme as well, which is fantastic. And also finally, more recently, we've also been involved with Buy Social. And as we're aware of the sort of Social Value Act that has come into Northern Ireland as well, it's about helping employers who are delivering services or through construction for public sector contracts, that as part of that now that they must have a social value part of that, and we can help employers with that as well. So finally, I'd just like to say that by hearing sort of the presentations today from the employers, it's been really enlightening to hear their experiences, and also from hearing from Conor as well, and that the organisations that hopefully that you will get in contact with ourselves, and we will help employers to help them with their employment needs. So thank you. And I'd just like to invite Paul back again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Edyth, and delighted to get Edyth's input there. And just maybe to resonate one of the points, the reserving employment happens a lot in Britain, happens a lot in Europe, doesn't happen a lot in Northern Ireland. Why is that? Why don't we use the reserved employment provision more of the DDA? And that's perhaps an issue that we can look at later on. Our next speaker, again, we want to stay on the theme of offering support. And our next speaker is Shauna Robinson from Department for Communities. And Shauna is going to speak to the various employment disability support programs that are available from government, from DFC. So we hope you enjoy this video as well. Thank you.
Good morning, and can I firstly thank the Equality Commission and NIUSE for inviting me along here today to this very important webinar. My name is Shauna Robinson and I work in the Department for Communities. The Department for Communities is fully committed to supporting all people with disabilities and health condition progress towards, move into and stay in employment, and we do this through a number of programmes. Our ambition is to improve the outcomes for people with disabilities and making our communities more inclusive. Collaboration between us, organisations including in the disability sector and employers is crucial to achieving this. Despite many challenges, disabled people continue to break down the barriers, gain their rightful place in the workplace and progress. The programmes we fund are primarily aimed at taking action in this statement, removing barriers and supporting people with disabilities in work. It has to be said, this can achieve the best outcomes when we have employers on board, employers who think differently about disability and take action on how to improve how they recruit, retain and develop disabled people in work. I want to firstly talk to you today about the Condition Management Programme. The Condition Management Programme links health, work and wellbeing. It is a work-focused rehabilitation programme which helps people understand and manage their health condition to enable them to progress towards, move into and stay in employment. It is delivered by experienced healthcare professionals from the 5 health and social care trusts in Northern Ireland. The Condition Management Programme is voluntary, short-term programme delivered across all of Northern Ireland. It aims to give people strategies and supports to manage their health condition to make progress towards a return to work. The CMP team will work with clients for up to 12 weeks and they will develop skills to manage their health condition, develop their quality of life with the potential to develop skills, knowledge and confidence on pursuing work now or in the future. The main aims of the Condition Management Programme are to address unhelpful thinking patterns, behaviours and beliefs in relation to a person's health, to increase activity levels and restore function, to encourage and promote self-help and coping strategies. I am now going to show you a short video on the Condition Management Programme.
The Condition Management Programme, CMP, could help you if you have a health condition which affects your ability to work, return to work or to stay in work. CMP is a free, voluntary, work-focused programme which is run by healthcare professionals. The Condition Management Programme gives support and advice to help you manage your health conditions. You can take part in CMP if you are at work but need support to manage your health condition, have been absent from work for less than 3 months and need support to manage a health condition and return to work, are on benefits, not working and have health-related barriers to work, are taking part in another Department for Communities Work and Health programme. Once a referral has been received, a member of the CMP clinical team will contact you by phone to talk about the programme to make sure it's right for you now. You may be offered individual sessions by one or more of the clinicians. You may also have the opportunity to take part in group workshops. The programme can last for up to 12 sessions and is usually finished within 3 months. There are several ways to access the service. Self-referral, a work coach, your GP or health professional, or via another work and health programme. To get the most out of the programme, you must take part regularly. Sessions can be delivered online, by phone and face-to-face.
So you will see the Condition Management Programme is a person-centred, holistic and a multi-professional one-stop shop. Physical and mental health needs are addressed within the same service. We have so much pride in the outcomes of the Condition Management Programme and they range from improved health right through to increased aspirations about employment or retention in employment. I have detailed some of these on the slides for you today and they range, as I said earlier, from improved fitness to improved pain management strategies right through to moving into work or returning to work or indeed job retention. Referral to CMP can be through our Jobs and Benefits Office, healthcare professionals, GPs and indeed by self-referral. Each of our trusts have a contact number which is shown on the slides, and you can contact the trust office directly. Condition management programmes have a wide range of participants have a wide range of health conditions. The key aim is to help them manage their own condition and firmly refocus them on their potential to enter and remain in work, with an appropriate focus on actual work-related activity during the programme. The next programme I'd like to talk to you today is Access to Work. Access to Work can help people with disabilities who wish to take up employment or who are in work and experience difficulty relating to their disability. It can also help employers who wish to recruit or retain people with disabilities in employment. It assists employers and people who are in paid employment or who have a job to start through the provision of practical support and by helping to meet additional costs associated with overcoming work-related obstacles that may have resulted from having a disability. Applications to Access to Work are self-referral by contacting our branch directly, and the mailbox is noted on the slides. Some of the examples on how Access to Work can help include communication support for a deaf person or person who has a hearing impairment and need a communicator with them at an interview, provision of special aids and equipment, and support with a person with the extra cost of travelling to and from work is resulting because of the disability. We have 3 specialist assessment contracts in place for the Access to Work programme. They are Armstrong Health Professionals, Access Centre NI, and Action on Hearing Loss. These assessments provide an understanding of an individual's employment needs with regard to particular aids, equipment, or adaptations that may be required to assist an individual to move into, retain, or progress in their employment. The next programme I'd like to cover today is Workable, which provides a flexible range of long-term support to help people with disabilities who have a lot of barriers to employment to find and keep work. The Workable programme is delivered by a range of local organisations who have extensive experience of meeting the vocational needs of disabled people. Our 3 providers who provide the support through the Workable programme are Disability Action, Supported Employment Solutions, and the Ulster Supported Employment Limited. Referrals to these programmes are made from various sources, but in the main have been through self-referral or the disability organisations. The Department for Communities is extremely proud of the support it gives people with disabilities in work. This year to date, we have helped 1,173 people on the Condition Management programme. We have supported over 900 people on the Workable programme who have a lot of barriers to employment. And through the Access to Work programme, we have helped nearly 800 people with disabilities who wish to take up employment who were in work and experienced difficulty relating to their disability. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks to Shauna for that input, and that's designed to give you a sense of what benefits and supports are available from within the public sector in terms of those 3 programmes. And we want to move on again on the theme of providing support to employers to explain to you before the break the services that the Equality Commission could provide to employers as part of the overall package. And this is going to be presented by my colleague Heather Wilson from the Advice and Compliance Division. Heather.
Good morning. My name is Heather Wilson and I work for the Advice and Compliance Division of the Equality Commission for Northern Ireland. So I'm here today to tell you more about the support that the Commission can provide for employers and service providers. So employers and service providers have a lot of duties under equality legislation, and advice and compliance staff can help fulfil the duties that employers and service providers have, and also help them to promote equality of opportunity. So some of the types of statutory obligations that we help employers with are the likes of duties under fair employment legislation, and also public authorities who have duties under Section 75 of the Northern Ireland Act, and also under Section 49A of the Disability Discrimination Act. So employers who are looking for advice or need any help on equality issues can contact the Equality Commission and speak to an advice and compliance officer, and using the main switchboard line, which is 90 500 and 600, and also they can ask to speak to someone on the Commission's inquiry line, which operates from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and staff will be happy to give information advice on any queries raised through that. You can also email your inquiries in to information@equalityni.org. Another important way that the Commission supports employers is through the Employer Training Programme, and it runs throughout the year. Employers and service providers can find details of courses that are running by going onto the website, which is www.equalityni.org/training. So many of our sessions tend to recur frequently for the likes of recruiting fairly or disability, making reasonable adjustments. But new sessions are added regularly. And at the moment, our training is online. Going forward, that may change back to in person, but we have to see how that goes as things open up. Another way of giving support to employers and service providers is through one-to-one support. And Commission advice and compliance staff meet with employers and public authorities and service providers on a regular basis on a range of issues. The website is also one of the most important support mechanisms for employers and service providers, and there is a section on it for employers of all sizes where they can access all the guidance that's needed to promote equality of opportunity in the workplace. There's new guidance continually being added. Recently, we've added guidance on menopause, and there's also new pages that are being added as well. And one of our most recent new pages is on how to recruit people with disabilities. And it's very straightforward and a useful reference point. The website also has good practice videos, and we have got on that recruiting people with disabilities some videos linked into the Making It Work initiative, and I'd recommend that you have a look at the videos which give more support on how to recruit people with disabilities. There are also podcasts that the Commission runs. The latest series was on educational inequalities and on encouraging young women into careers in STEM. And we also have employer blogs, and we recently did one on recruiting people with disabilities and using tests and interviews as part of that process, which is also quite a useful read. If you want to keep up to date with the Equality Commission, a good way is to subscribe to the Commission's e-zine, and you can find out information on how to do that on the homepage of the Commission's website. And finally, a good way to find out what's going on is to follow the Commission on social media. And you can do that through Twitter at EqualityComNI or through Facebook and also LinkedIn. So I hope that's given you a broad overview of some of the support services that we offer, and that you will consider contacting the Commission either by phone or by email if you have an equality issue that you'd like further help or information and advice on. So that brings me to the end of what I wanted to say. I believe we now have time for a 5-minute break, after which we're going to come back for the panel discussion. Thank you.
This is the second time I've done it. Okay, thank you everybody. We're back for a questions and answers session. We don't have a lot of time because we want to keep on time. So we may only have time for possibly two questions, but here we go. The first question actually is for Lorna from Primark, and it's about, could you tell us something briefly, Lorna, about the importance of other of your employees assisting you in implementing reasonable adjustments? And what the importance of other staff being, part of that process?
Yeah, the other staff in our store are very important in the whole process, because I think I mentioned that Conor was set up with a mentor, and we would do that with any member of staff. So Primark is quite a big organisation, and we run large shops. There's a lot of elements to the role of a retail assistant. So whilst we deliver an induction programme where we explain what the expectations of the role and what the role will involve, the sort of on-hand training is so important. And that's where the staff, our colleagues, play a vital role. So they can show, for example, they will have taken Conor through all the steps. How do we merchandise our stock? How do we put things out correctly? How do we size? How do we fold? There's so many practical elements to the job that we wouldn't be able to coach Conor properly without the assistance of our colleagues. And also that bond. It's a large store, so somebody coming in, they need to be made to feel welcome. They need to get to know their colleagues. Everybody plays a pivotal role in making sure that new employees settle in, whether that be someone who has reasonable adjustments in place or a normal, colleague. That would be the expectation.
Okay, no, that's great. Thanks, Lorna, for that. And we also have a question for Shauna. Shauna from Department of Communities, or Department for Communities. And the question, Shauna, that's been asked is in relation to the condition management programme, is that just for public sector organisations? Is that available to the private sector organisations? Is there any distinction there?
No distinction, Paul, open to both private and public sector. As I said, it was primarily to help people in benefits to get return to work, but we have expanded the programme quite recently to support those who are in work who maybe have to try and manage a health condition to support job retention, but no difference to the area of employment or type of employment being available for the condition management programme.
Great, that's very informative. Thanks, Shauna. And one quick question actually for Norman from NIUSE, and that is, Norman, can you give us an example of where you've worked with an organisation to promote employment opportunities for people with disabilities?
Yeah, many and varied, I guess. One that springs to mind was a piece of work that we did up with the Northern Health and Social Care Trust in the Causeway Hospital area, whereby we were looking at sort of a positive recruitment actions around the catering and so on. And typically when we sort of all go for interviews, you typically go for a 20 or a half an hour interview. A number of questions are asked and somebody makes a determination based on that, whether you got the job or not. We were working with people with learning disabilities up in that patch, and in essence we were taking the job description and the job questioning and we were breaking it down into a series of actions, and over a course of about a 10-week programme, the individual was able to demonstrate the competency for each of those questions that were asked, which resulted in employment for a number of people. So, a very good example of that, trying to look creatively at the process and saying, can we do it any differently?
Okay, thanks, Norman, for that. Well, we don't have time for other questions. We want to get on to other aspects, but We will come back, if there are other questions that have arisen, we will come back and give answers to those. But what we are certainly getting is people are interested in the support that's available and for more information on the support. So there's maybe a job of work there in us providing more information. My colleague Una will touch upon a follow-up event that we're doing in relation to today's event. But I want to thank everybody on the panel and the speakers, and Janet, who's our signer today, for all of the excellent work. And as we move towards the end of the webinar, I now want to introduce my own colleague, Una Wilson, who's going to give you a practical action plan that you can use to develop your own employability initiative. And Una, delighted to welcome to the podium.
Thanks a million, Paul. I'm going to very briefly take you through an action plan which you would have received in an email from Barbara Ann Sloan this morning. And just in the context of, you've heard from our Chief Commissioner about the statistics in terms of the employment gap for people with disabilities in Northern Ireland, and we want to make sure that more people with disabilities get jobs and better jobs in Northern Ireland. And we want to reduce that gap because we're last in the leaderboard in the context of the 4 nations of the UK. So we need to change that overnight in terms of looking at, and if one public sector organisation introduces positive action or ring fencing or improves their reasonable adjustments, one private sector organisation after this event does that, we're beginning to start the ball rolling in terms of changing the way disabled people get more jobs and better jobs in Northern Ireland. You've heard from the videos from Conor about the practical reasonable adjustments in the context of issues in terms of, and I'm going to actually take you through this positive action plan. So the most important part of the positive action plan, and you've heard from both Lorna and Michelle in terms of practical examples of the reasonable adjustments that can be made in the working environment in terms of the recruitment process, but also in terms of the ongoing issues in terms of reasonable adjustments and how that's funded, as Shauna has explained, by the Department of Communities and the access to work, and also how people are supported by organisations who are members of the Northern Ireland Union for Supported Employment. The importance of this can't be underestimated, as most of you know, from a HR perspective in terms of having a data-driven process. And many of you in the public sector already monitor people with disabilities, but you don't do much with that information. And where are the hiccups for people with disabilities in terms of where are the changes that need to be made to the recruitment process to ensure that more people with disabilities get jobs within both the public and the private sector. And it is about removing that substantial disadvantage for disabled people in terms of that process, in terms of looking at that reasonable adjustment. But going back to the data-driven, having that information, you all know you have to produce results and you have to provide information to your management boards or to your senior managers, and you need to show that there is results in terms of those processes. So at least if you have that information to start with, you can do that. The next part is to look at selecting the different types of positive action. And I'm not going to have time today to go into elements of positive action, but the Equality Commission is very helpful in terms of looking at how we can help you in terms of looking at that. The Disability Discrimination Act allows employers to do things that would not be allowable under any other anti-discrimination legislation. It means you can treat disabled people more favourably. It means you can, as Paul referred to, reserve jobs or ring-fence jobs, and Norman referred to it there in the question and answer in terms of reserving jobs for disabled people. And there is caution that you shouldn't be treating disabled people in the context of one disability over another because of potential for a direct discrimination claim. And you can come to any of the Equality Commission seminars and we'd be happy to talk to you about that in terms of more information. So there's different types of positive action. So you can provide vocational training, job or work trials. You heard Primark did the work trials. Now they've moved on to employing people. You can have guaranteed interviews for disabled people who meet the essential criteria, or you can ring fence jobs for disabled people. And on the 13th of April, we'll have a seminar and you can join up to this on our website, our employer training program, where we'll have a positive action seminar on this issue. So you'll be able to look at more information, and we'll be explaining more reasonable adjustments in more detail in that context. The important thing about positive action is it's disability specific on training opportunities in terms to gain experience for current and future vacancies within your organisation. The guaranteed interview scheme, as I've already talked about, offering short-term job trials, opportunities. Norman was describing how a young woman was a picker for Asda and how she became the best picker in Northern Ireland. So there is an opportunity to look at how you can do these things differently, and reserving those jobs is really important in terms of those issues. So there is that positive action seminar on the 13th of April, and the action plan that we would suggest you look at is looking at disability equality training for all your staff, but also in the context of considering the case law. And you can come to a reasonable adjustment seminar on the 28th of April, and you can sign up on our website for that. Update all your relevant workplace policies and communications to all your staff. So it is that practical information that Lorna was already referring to, having the policies, but making sure the staff on the ground know about those issues. Reviewing the format of recruitment information, looking at all those issues that we've already talked about, but using imagery that reflects a diverse workforce and show that Northern Ireland is working towards looking at those issues. But the most important part of this work is working with partners. We can all help each other, and we can all look at how we can do this. I've actually given you a copy of the action plan, which is in your seminar there. So you can see measuring the number of staff with disabilities in your organisation, widening the pool of applicants. And Edyth explained in quite a lot of detail about the information that a lot of jobs don't get to disabled people and how NIUSE can help them in that context. So it is quite useful in the context of looking at reviewing your reasonable adjustment policy, crucially important. In actual fact, Primark saying that they worked with autism, a lot of issues around pre-employment testing around autism, so find out about the case law around those issues, training for staff and recruitment and reasonable adjustments, and developing, most importantly, what we want for more and better jobs is developing positive action policies, and we'll be happy to help you. And if you're within the public sector in Northern Ireland, there is a disability action plan that it is a good example of showing how you're promoting disabled people in public life and promoting positive attitudes to disabled people by having positive action measures or reviewing your recruitment and selection, ensuring reasonable adjustments are put in place for disabled people. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our chair, who's going to close for the morning. And thank you for all your time and thank you, Janet, for signing. I know I speak too fast. I'm just going to pass over to Norman. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And it just calls on me really to say a few words of thanks for everybody that participated in this morning's event. I'm chair of the Northern Ireland Union of Support Employment, and I hope that sort of people found a great value out of the presentations and the discussions from this morning. It gave great insight in the illustrations and you know, the wide range of support services that are available to people with disabilities. It's always very refreshing to see and to hear from employers in particular, and you know, Conor up there in the Maiden City, and you know, the great experience that he had through his initial placement and then subsequent employment with Primark, and the support offered by one of our members, by Mencap, in facilitating that was really valuable. Today's economy is difficult. Employers are facing increasing challenges finding a workforce, and disabled people, you know, have got a real role to play in that. And hopefully, some of the examples and some of the discussion today would stimulate some action from employers to say, yeah, listen, let's see if we can get something going here that works for these guys. So basically, I just want to say a few words of thanks to the speakers today, to Geraldine McGahey from the Chief Commissioner from the Equality Commission, for Conor, McGinnity and the manager up in Primark there, Lorna, and as I say, the Mencap support agency. To Michelle Tennyson from the Public Health Authority and the example that she gave of her PA. Edyth Dunlop, of course, the Northern Ireland Union of Support Employment, the regional manager. Shauna Robinson, our colleague from the Department of Communities, and Heather Wilson from the Equality Commission, and Una as well. Lastly, and by no means least, Janet Beck, the sign language interpreter today, who did a sterling job and is continuing to do a sterling job, as I see her on the screen. And so really, last but no means least, of course, Paul Oates, our chair for today's session, for making it all run nice and smoothly. From Northern Ireland Union of Support Employment's perspective, this event has been another great partnership event that brings together key stakeholders and organisations working to support those with disabilities into employment. So thank you once again for attending and participating today. And finally, can I ask you please to have a wee look at the evaluation that we have online for this event. It helps us tremendously as we plan for future events going forward. Thank you very much.